So I've got a pretty interesting decision here to make with my fantasy team, and I figure this would be a good opportunity to show how I use my model to arrive at a clear decision. So on the right hand side here, I've got my fantasy team pulled up. The situation is it's Sunday of week 2. My team is crushing my opponent, and I still have 2 ads left. Right, so these are going to expire at 3 a.m. tonight, and I would like to make use of them. I think this is a spot where managers might tend to get a little lazy, say my team's in a good shape. You know, I don't need these ads. I don't want to mess with what's working or whatever. I think it's pretty important to get the most out of every single ad, especially with how much randomness and variance there is in fantasy. It's every little edge matters. So I'm going to try to come up with a plan to use these 2 ads today and use the 4 ads next week. Like, figure out how I'm going to make use of all of those, because I think using 6 ads in 8 days with a team that's performing very well is going to be kind of a challenge to pull off. So I'm going to use my model over here on the left side to figure out the best way to do that. So here I've got fantasy point projections for every player in the league for whatever time frame I decide to set it for. So right now I've got from tomorrow to the finals of my fantasy league set here. So it's shaving games that already happened off, and it's shaving off a handful of games at the end of the year that won't fall inside my fantasy season. And so it's ranking them by this EV number, which is very similar to VORP, with a slight modifier here. This column called SE, which is schedule efficiency. It's like a value that attempts to quantify your schedule. So if you play a lot of games on off nights, you'll get a higher number here, and that'll bump up your overall score. If you have a bad schedule, you're always playing on Saturday nights, always playing on Thursday nights, you'll get a negative here. So it's just like a slight bump up or down to account for the value of the team schedule. And so the first thing I'm going to do with this is decide who I'm going to drop. So I'm going to use this filter here, get rid of all the non-checked boxes in this column, and what I'm left with is my team. So I have an import running in the background that is pulling data from my Yahoo League into Sheets and populating these check boxes. So here we got Pasternak, we got Werenski. It's 1-to-1. Everyone that's owned on this page is going to show up in this filter with just that one click. So if we look at the bottom here, we've obviously got Barkov, who's projected to get 0 fantasy points. I took him in the last round of my fantasy draft, just hoping maybe he comes back in time for playoffs. Won't be dropping him. Barrett Hayton is below replacement for the rest of the year, very droppable. I only added him this week because he had a pretty good schedule. And then we got Malkin, who's off to a great start to the season, and Gustav Forsling. Okay, so I'd like to add points, or add players that will get me points this week, obviously. But I think one other thing I'd like to explore is an upgrade for defensemen. The bottom end of my roster, or my defensemen here, D'Angelo and Forsling, are pretty mid. D'Angelo's really fallen off since Schaefer has taken a lot of his top deployment. So if I can find a guy that maybe be a longer term hold with some upside, that'd be pretty cool. And I want to use these ads today. There's not a whole lot to do to this roster, so this is actually a great time to try to make a move like that. Is when I have these leftover ads. They're not gonna help me win this week because the week's already won, so I might as well use them for sort of like a long-term investment. Kind of a luxury that you get when you have a week like this. And so I'm going to just change the filter here. So I had it from week 3 to the finals. I'm going to set it for Let's go like a medium term. Let's go like week 6. Go to rankings. Just kind of want to see like what these players have coming up in the next month. See if something stands out. So Forsling is actually below replacement, so that makes him extremely droppable. Hayden below replacement. Okay, so these two guys are kind of becoming clear that these would be the drops. Last thing I'll do is just check this week, just make sure they don't have like a crazy good week, and they do not. Okay. Well, Hayden's actually above replacement. That's interesting. I don't think Utah has a great week. I think they play Sunday, so he's getting a little boost for having an off night on Sunday. He doesn't have like the worst schedule efficiency, but I'm not gonna hold Barrett Hayton all week for a Sunday game. So those will be my drops. Easy enough. Next, what I'll do is I will filter for, or actually, I'm going to change the filter here to back to week 6 and look for defensemen who look kind of promising. So we'll filter for just defensemen, and we will filter out all of the owned players. So this column has everyone who's owned, and I filter out the check marks, and what we're left with is some options to add on D. Okay, Brady Shea, Justin Falk, Romanov, Klingberg. Okay. Top 3 are incredibly mid. I don't think there's much difference between them and Forsling. Klingberg, he's on top power play. None of these other guys are on their top power play. I can see upside there. Like, I own him in another league, a deeper league, but this is the only guy on this list here I could see who could play his way up my depth chart. So, okay, he's injured. I know he's going to come back soon, potentially the next game. And since this is a longer term ad, I'm less worried about whether he misses a game or 2 this week. This is someone I'd like to pick up. And the other cool thing is I won't have to make a second drop because I can just stick him on IR for today. So I could drop Hayton, add Klingberg, stash him, and then hold on to Forsling until Klingberg comes back. That's pretty clean. I like that. Okay, so that's one ad sorted. Let's set this now to just this week, for someone who's going to help me win this matchup. And select all of these. Sort this real quick. All right. We're seeing a lot of Sabres here. I know they go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and obviously they have this bright green schedule efficiency. So this kind of takes out some of that work of like cross-referencing schedules with like the Yahoo free agency. It pulls everyone who's got lots of games on pretty good schedules up to the top. And yeah, I mean, if we're looking at forwards now, Zucker just seems like a clear step ahead. He's been top power play with some injuries in Buffalo, and I just know my model really likes his underlying metrics, so I think that would be the play for forward. It's going to be kind of hard. I usually look at the gap here and see, depending on how many games there are, if there was someone who was like a 3.1 or 3.2, I would say that's a wash, but a gap of a point between Quinn and Zucker is kind of hard to argue. So my only concern with adding a forward is that he's not going to, or is that he's going to sit on my roster all week, and I'm not going to be able to drop him, which means I'm not going to be able to use those ads, those 4 ads I'm going to have next week, unless somebody gets hurt, which could always happen, but I don't want to, plan for that or require it. So, are there any goalie streams Monday? I'm going to set this to a custom date of tomorrow. Do another quick ranking of everyone here. Oh, select all of these. There we go. Okay. There are goalies playing tomorrow. Okay. Both Flyers goalies are available, so I'll definitely get one of them. And then it looks like there are some backups that could play. We'll see. Okay. So just sort of big picture, I would rather devote our roster spot this week to streaming in multiple goalies, right? Just like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just pick a new goalie every day. Fill in the gaps in my my own goalies line, like schedules, because I'm gonna end up with more points, right? They're each gonna get me like 4.5 points, and Zucker was gonna get 15. But that was counting the Saturday game, which I wasn't gonna get in my lineup, so call it 12, right? So I would get more fantasy points by rotating goalies. It's going to cost me more ads, but I have the ads to do it this week, and I'd like to use them. So I kind of like that idea, but I can't add any of them today because I don't know who's going to play. I need to wait for the confirmations. So maybe the play is add Klingberg, move him to IR, and drop Hayden. And then fill that spot with Zucker. And then plan to drop Forsling tomorrow for a goalie. And just bet on Klingberg coming back. And if he doesn't, who cares? Like, I can get 2 goalie games in on Monday, Wednesday, as opposed to 1 Forsling game on Tuesday. So that's just better value, even if Klingberg doesn't come back. And when he does, then we can... Oh, no, because then we'd have to drop Zucker. All right, who's the best forward on Monday? Oh, it's basically Zucker. Okay, so let's do this. Let's add Klingberg, drop Hayden, move to IR, then grab Zucker. And Zucker will be on my lineup until Klingberg comes back. He'll just fill in those gaps. Meanwhile, tomorrow I will drop Brady Shea not Brady Shea, sorry. I'll drop Forsling for a streamer goalie. And then I'll have that spot freed up all week. This works perfect. That's the plan. Let's go make this happen. I'm going to drop Hayden, who plays today, but doesn't matter because we didn't need those points. Alright, so first things first, we'll add Klingberg. Drop Hayden. A bunch of people adding him today for the Sunday game. It's pretty funny. Good luck to all of you out there. And then give me my Zucker ad. Oh wait, I gotta put him on IR first. Oops. Klingberg to IR. Add Zucker. Don't drop anyone. There we go. All set.